I want to sit back and relax and enjoy my evening. When all of a sudden, I hear this agitating, grating voice.
Peter! Get out!
When I think of Anne Dowd, I immediately think horrifying older woman. She just happens to be always typecast as these scary women you don't want to cross. The Handmaid's Tale, Compliance, The Exorcist, even The Leftovers. But to me, she is the most terrifying in Hereditary, as Joan, the mysterious and overbearing Joan. I wouldn't want her in my business. Welcome to Side Character Deep Dive, this series here where we look at overlooked characters who are still major players in the story. I will leave the playlist link down below with the previous 7 episodes. And if you enjoy this video, please go ahead and give this a thumbs up, subscribe for more, check out all of my links down below if you would like to see any more of me or support the channel any further. And in the comments, let me know which side character I should cover next. For the uninitiated, Hereditary is probably in my top 3 horror movies of all time. From 2018, directed by Ari Aster following the death of the Lee family matriarch, Annie and her children uncover disturbing secrets about their heritage. Their daily lives are not only impacted, but they also become entangled in a chilling fate from which they cannot escape, driving the household to the brink of madness. But anyways, let's focus on one of the most unsuspecting and deceptive characters in the whole story, Joan. Joan first appears as a kind, grieving woman at a bereavement support group. She presents herself as someone who has suffered immense loss. She seeks Annie out like a heat-seeking missile while slowly assimilating herself into Annie's life, acting as a maternal comfort and also a lifeline for Annie in her grief spiral. Joan's warmth and kind nature is strategic. There is a catch to her kindness. She is part of a demonic cult devoted to the summoning of King Payman, one of the 8 kings of hell. Payman requires a new male host body, and Joan plays the role of manipulator and recruiter. She targets Annie's emotional state to ensure Payman's successful manifestation through Annie's son, Peter. I think it's worth mentioning here that we are not deep diving into the Graham family. We are not deep diving into Charlie, into Peter. We are just talking about Joan. There's a lot more to this story, and I would be happy to talk more about Hereditary. I've seen it so many times. But we're mostly focusing on what Joan does to manipulate them instead. Let's talk about Joan's role in the cult. Joan is one of the most important surviving followers of Ellen Lee, Annie's deceased mother, who has secretly led the Payman cult for decades. Her friendship with Annie is a cover to continue Ellen's work and manipulate events after her death. She is seen performing ritualistic chants, symbol placement, and summoning spells. Joan also introduces Annie to the seance technique, pretending it's a spiritual healing tool, but it's actually a way to invite Payman into the family home, and in deleted scenes, Joan is depicted as even more devout, that she is an even higher ranking member in the cult, perhaps even second in command. But by the end of the film, Joan presides over the ritual that crowns Peter the vessel of Payman, chanting Hail Payman, and guiding worship to the family treehouse. She is the face of calm devotion as chaos and grief consume the Graham family whole. Joan embodies the inescapability of legacy. Just as Annie inherits her mother's mental illness and trauma, she also inherits her mother's cult ties. And Joan represents the outside influence watching the inherited doom, even facilitating it. She is the outsider who is actually a part of the family's cursed bloodline, just by influence alone. She also plays on the horror genre's comforting maternal trope, the sweet older woman who represents safety, only to invert that into manipulation and destruction. Ari Aster has said that Joan and Ellen are the true villains of the movie, orchestrating everything from the shadows, while Annie and Peter remain their puppets. Now, Ann Dowd was specifically chosen for this role because of her grounded and believable warmth. She makes Joan too convincing. Dowd said she approached Joan as a quote-unquote true believer and not a villain. She plays her faith in Payman as something sacred and not sinister. Ari Aster even told her to play Joan like a grandmother who's found religion and wants to share it. But in the end, Joan is Hereditary's smiling face of damnation. She is a bridge between grief and supernatural, and without her, Payman wouldn't find a vessel, and the Graham family's curse wouldn't fulfill its cycle. She is a side character, but one whose actions literally decide the film's ending. Now, because she doesn't have a last name, it kind of leaves it up to interpretation who she is in the end. Where did she come from? What are her intentions? We know they are not good. But Ann Dowd is one of those characters who can play the scary older woman so well, kind of like a Kathy Bates character, but even more sinister. All I'm saying is if someone asks me to do a seance in my home, I am noping out of there. But thank you for tuning in to episode 8 of Side Character Deep Dive. I'm really loving this series. I'm loving diving into characters that people are not talking about on the daily basis. Let me know your thoughts down below and let me know which side character I should deep dive into next. I love Hereditary. I love that movie so much. But if I ever saw my mom in the corner of the room staring at me like Toni Collette in the movie, I think I would just have to jump out the window.